Welcome back, everybody. Episode 2 of Casual Gaming, a Millennial Gamer podcast. And on today's episode, we actually got a fun one. It's a long one, too, but really, really good stuff. We've got a buddy of ours by the name of Nick Naruse, owner of Toad Hall Records and Books in Rockford, Illinois. Brought him on to talk about pinball machines. Pinball is kind of the start of gaming, at least for, I feel like our generation growing up, going to bowling alleys, jumping on pinball machines, maybe waiting to get your food with your family and seeing that nice, shiny, bright lights all flickering in the distance, asking your mama for a couple of coins to go slap the paddles a little bit. So we're going to jump right into it. But before we do, please make sure that you subscribe us on YouTube. Find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're on there right now. So we're just going to get into it right now, and we hope you enjoy.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We're super excited about our guest this week. We have our friend Nick Naruse. He's been a dear friend of ours for a very long time. I've known Nick since kindergarten, and Rye joined our school, our grade school, a little bit later on, but we've all become close friends over the years. We spent a lot of time gaming over at Nick's house, a lot of LAN parties with Halo.
Many.
That's been the kind of the good times where we met Dodge and some of our other friends as well. But I got to know Nick at a young age, and over the years, we spent a lot of time together. I'd go over to his parents' house, and his dad actually was very savvy with pinball machines. There was always pinball machines everywhere, parts
everywhere,
all over the place. Garage, it was all over the place, and they always had a rotation of pinball machines in their house, and we're excited to kind of get a chance to talk with him, because if you really think about it, pinball machines are really kind of like the start of gaming. And Nick has a lot of really good information about pinball machines, and kind of how they've developed over the years. And we're really excited to talk to him about this. So thanks for joining us, Nick.
Yeah, thanks for having me on the show, guys.
We want to get started off by just kind of, seeing how you kind of got started with us, how we became friends. What are some of the early memories of gaming that you have with us?
Well, obviously, a lot of years back at the old Clark Stead. Playing games in the basement, and just summers. I don't know how many summers we spent out there just gaming, like all summer.
Sure.
Playing Super Nintendo, 64. I remember you had a PlayStation and I had a Nintendo, so like I would go to your house and we would play PS1 games that I obviously couldn't get. And I was playing Twisted Metal. We were playing
Twisted Metal, yeah.
I was like, holy cow, these games are totally different,
How far back? What are we talking about? What year are we talking about here?
PS1 era. What is that?
Yeah, PS1. I got PS1 the Christmas, I think, after it came out.
97, 98, maybe?
Yeah, probably right around then, because there were some of the games, like I remember like some of the football games I had, like Game Day 97 was on PlayStation and things like that. So but I do have I think this was a PS2 memory, but Nick, do you remember playing Silent Hill 2 in my basement by chance?
Yeah. Very creepy game, by the way.
So that was the first. Yeah, that was the first time where we played, one of those horror type games. And, Nick and I grew up in a very, safe kind of area, and we didn't really experience anything scary like that. But yeah, that was kind of the first time where I was, we were scared when we were playing a video game, and it was addicting. It was a good time.
Set the scene. We're in his basement, and it has the surround sound on. For a PlayStation 2, you're playing Silent Hill, and it's a quiet game. It's eerie. And he went into a bathroom, and he's like opening the stalls, looking for goodies. Hits the last stall open, and then it's just like, what was it, like a knock? It was like, it's like.
So yeah, I think what it was is you went into, we're in the mental hospital or the hospital in the game, and you knock on each stall door, and then one knocked back. And I remember my younger brother Jason was down there with us, and I believe Richard Land was down there with us as well. And we looked over at Nick, and his head was under the pillow, and my brother made a comment like, "Nick, are you scared?" And Nick's response was, "No, my head's cold." And it was just one of those moments that I'll never forget.
But you laughed.
It was, going back and forth, going to his place, those pinball machines were something that we, that was unique to you, Nick. I remember, I even tell my students that I teach now, my friend Nick has all these pinball machines. And it's just kind of crazy how your dad kind of introduced that to you, and how he would go about fixing these pinball machines and using parts to kind of compare different things. Yeah, there's Larry right there. Good man.
Are you sitting on a pinball machine there?
Yeah,
that's me sitting on a Paragon.
That's
an old pinball machine there.
Okay, so when you say
that became the game room, so that's
gotcha.
where it's at.
So when you say Paragon, can you explain what that is?
Paragon, that's an old Bally. The title of the game is Paragon.
Okay,
so that's the name of that game.
So I think I can kind of speak for a lot of people, including some of the people that are tuning in for this episode. I grew up I was born in 87, so we had this kind of like the arcade era, and prior to that was the pool hall era in like the 60s and 70s, where pinball machines were like a big thing for people to go down to the pool hall, play pool, play some pinball, play foosball, things like that. But as I talked to you the other day, that's not really when pinball machines kind of started. Can you get into how pinball started and the time era that they began, and what was the point of them?
Well, yeah, I mean, pinball has a long history. It goes back to the 1800s. Obviously, we all grew up in Rockford, Illinois area, Northern Illinois area. Pinball's a Chicago thing. They were all made in Chicago. All through the 1800s, it was just kind of like a bar hobby. But it was also kind of like used as a trade stimulator or like a gambling device, which is why in the 20s and 30s, they kind of got into trouble because they were making payout pinball machines. Like if you were good, you would win nickels or dimes or whatever back.
Sure.
And then
it's a shitload of money.
Into trouble.
Back in the day.
I mean, back in the 20s and 30s. So there was a big, there's a famous photo. I'm sure you can find it on Google easily. It's the mayor of Chicago kicking over a pinball machine, and they have a pile of them in the back, and they're just burning them all. It's because they basically deregulated and said you can't pinball machines anymore. So then we fast forward, 20, 30 more years, kind of like my dad's generation when they were younger, they had to petition to say that it's not a gambling device because it was still illegal in some areas.
Going back to when your dad was younger, they had to petition for it?
No. Before that. Okay. I mean, it was it was illegal for a while, and then it was brought back. There was even a Supreme Court trial for this.
Interesting.
Bring it back to show that it was for amusement and it was a game of skill rather than a game of chance.
And just
that's why
we're talking about pinball machines, are we?
Talking about pinball machines, yes.
This is crazy.
Because remember, they're just like a slot machine. They had to differentiate themselves as a game of chance versus a game of skill. That was why they wanted to divide that, so that they didn't have to have any red tape, because they had been basically, outlawed because of that.
Well, I find that interesting that you say that there's a difference between a game of skill versus a game of luck, because I feel like a lot of us that have played pinball machines throughout the years, we put the quarters in and we just hit the flippers and try to get as many points as we possibly can. But that's not necessarily the point of a pinball machine. When you say that there's a skill behind that, can you kind of expand on that for me?
So, I mean, there's a couple of ways you could obviously talk about skill. You can be good, I can walk up to any pinball machine and I can use my flipper skills on any game. But I think what a lot of people don't realize when they first get into pinball or first play them is that it's a game just like any game you would play on a console or arcade game, where there's levels to it, there's objectives. The older games were obviously the 1980 games were very straightforward. You had to lock 3 balls, you get the multi-ball. That's kind of the highlight of the game. Well, as we went through the 90s, they kind of introduced modes where there's a dozen modes in the game, and you put the ball in a certain spot, and now you have to hit the ramps, or now you got to hit the loops, or now you got to hit whatever to advance. And if you did all the modes, you got a wizard mode, a final boss mode. And to today's standard, it's even more elaborate. Now it's, they've gone even further with the rule sets.
Well, I remember you having some of those kind of later games. I remember the South Park pinball machine actually had the 3D screen on it that could kind of project it onto the pinball machine as well. So they definitely made a lot of kind of cool changes over the years. But when you say, so just to kind of clarify, when you say like there's eventually you get to like a boss battle, you know, if you're playing Ghostbusters and you know you're trying to get to the final boss, if you beat that final boss, what then if you still have, you know, some balls still left, like what happens next then?
It just starts over.
Starts over.
That's really cool. So you just loop all the way around the game, and then modes usually get harder. So instead of having to make 2 shots, you have to make 5, or the time amount. So you hit 30 seconds, now you have 10 seconds.
We're talking about a fairly sophisticated concept on a what seems to be a very basic type of game here. We have a slanted board with you know, different ramps and holders and things like that, but really it can think. It moves along with the game.
Yeah, it totally changes play. And the newer games are really good at this. I mean, you know, me and my dad talk about this all the time. Like, how many different games can they come up with in this 4x2 box? Like,
right.
How can they keep making original ideas out of the same thing they've been making for 4 years?
Right.
Realistically. And they do. I mean, and they do it through rules. Typically, the rules are the biggest thing that changes the game. I mean, you look at each game, they're really not that different. The bottom third or half of the playfield is almost always the same.
Right.
So they are not changing much other than art, programming, you know, digital graphics, music, rules. The rules are the biggest thing that changes the game.
That is so interesting.
Wow.
So when you talk about rules, get into rules for me real quick. Because like obviously for me, like pinball in my life has been just either at an arcade or showing up at a bar and just simple, small, quick entertainment. That I literally, like, my mindset has always been just score as many points as possible and not really look at the board. True. And I've always looked at the board and I'm like, what is all this stuff down here? You know, and I just don't understand. So talk about the rules. Like, what are we talking about here?
Well, there's a lot of things that go into this. So, I mean, first of all, you do realize when you put your dollar in, those games are designed for 3 minutes. You get like, that's as an operator, because I do own these games on location. I have them around town. The sweet spot is 3 minutes. You put a buck in, they want you to get 3 minutes to play. Any shorter, you feel ripped off. Any longer, you can feel bored or that the game's too easy.
Got it.
Especially if you don't know, like, there's an objective. Like, if you don't realize that there's objectives, then it just feels like you're just slapping this ball and it's just bouncing around, right? So that's
and then you lose your ball and you're gone. And in a minute, you're gone and you're done. You're like, I'm wasted. I'm not doing this again. So, you know, it's designed. You got to remember, these people who did pinball machines, Bally Williams, in 1999, they quit making pinball machines, but they make slot machines now. To this day, they're all located. They moved from Chicago, Illinois to Nevada, Las Vegas, Nevada, and they all still make slot machines. WMS is now rebranded Williams, and Bally is just still operated under Bally. So
interesting.
They knew where the money was. They could sell a lot more slot machines for a lot more profit, and they switched in the 90s.
All right, so
back into the rules.
Yeah,
so, go ahead.
No, well, I was going to say, talk to me about the rules, because then I got another follow-up question that I want to figure, just because, like, for someone like me, approaching the game is very different for somebody that knows what the hell they're doing, like you. So I have a follow-up to after you explain this rule situation.
Okay. Well, like I said, the rules in the 80s very simple. Like my firepower, you got pictures of this. My firepower back here, it's literally hit 6 targets and lock a ball. So you lock 3 balls, you get a multi-ball. That's it. That's 1980. That was like the creme de la creme in 1980.
And that's a fun game too, right? You should bring that picture to the next, because that's a cool one.
And people talk about, like, you know, what makes a good game. I'm like, well, it doesn't matter how new or old it is. It could still be a kick-ass game from, you know, even if it's very simple, it's still a good game. So you get to the 90s, and I was talking about modes, where you, like on Apollo 13 here, you have to hit a certain shot. It's a mode start. There's like 8 modes on it. And one of them's hit this ramp to go to the moon. Another one's video mode. They were playing around with like different little video modes on the screen. Another one's, you know, hit the orbit. And you would have like, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds to hit it 4 times. If you did, you got a jackpot, like, oh, you completed the task. Here's your reward. That was pretty much all of 90s, 90 to 99. That's even into the 2000s. That's pretty much the rules. Like, start to get through the modes. If you beat all the modes, which is pretty hard to do, you get what they call a wizard mode, which is usually like a huge multi-ball. Like, everything is super high scoring. It's like a big celebration at the end of the game.
It's really
and
cool.
now,
Yeah.
the modern era, which is getting even crazier, is they're altering these rules. They're making, with modern technology, with, computer technology, they can, make the rules more complicated. You can stack modes now. So, like, you could start a multi-ball and you could start the ramp mode, both going at the same time. Or you can strategize. Like, I won't start this mode until I get the multi-ball ready. Then I start it and get double scoring for everything.
Like, and I've watched you play, Nick, and for those that haven't watched somebody that really knows how to play a pinball machine, it's extremely impressive because the flipper skills, like you kind of spoke about earlier, are essential. You have to know the angle of how to hit, the speed at which to hit. I mean, watching Nick play pinball is unlike anything I've ever seen. Like, it's really a unique style to play a game like that, because once you understand those modes, then you know what you're shooting for and what's important, and how to kind of progress the game then.
So
you can move through the game like you normally would if it was a joystick,
Right.
So my follow-up to this perfect piggyback off of that, for somebody that, like, for me, I don't know, like, when I walk up to a pinball, like, literally the only objective that I'm thinking about is how do I score as many high points and to get that free match ball number situation at the end that gives you basically like free points. So, like, when you walk up to a game, like, how do you, knowing what you know and that there's rules, and like, how do you, like, take a look at the game and go, all right, how am I going, like, do you have a system when you walk up? Yeah. Do you have a strategy when you walk up to a machine, or you're like, obviously there's no instruction manual on the side that says this is how you have to play this game, or maybe there is, and maybe I just, too ignorant to look, but like, what's the
there is a photo I shot you a photo of it.
Okay. We'll put it up.
Bottom left-hand corner of each game. It's a real quick rule rundown. In the bottom left corner, it's like a little instruction card. They have it on the games today. But the biggest trick, because pinball designers have been trying to solve this issue for the last 20 years, of how do we make it simple so that people can walk up and learn it, is whatever's flashing, hit that. It's that simple. So if you play a game, or you play a game a little bit, you'll realize that, like, they'll have arrows like in front of the ramps, or like the shots will flash. You're like, oh, I got to hit that one.
Okay.
They've basically dulled it down to that point to try to just hit, like, if you went to an arcade today and you played the new, like, I got a Turtles Premium here. If you walked in and played the new whatever, just do that. Just go play and hit the flashing stuff. That's all you got to do.
We talked earlier in the week too. There's a sticker that has to go on every single game to make sure that people know that it's not for the gambling. Because, like you said, pinball machine originally was almost like a gambling machine. I just found that unique. What is that sticker? Just to kind of let the listeners know.
He's got a photo for this. It just says "for amusement only" on the apron. The game, that's the lower part of the game. And it says, it's on my 80s games, but by the time my new games don't have them on them anymore, but for a long time, they always stuck it on there because they didn't want to be a gambling device. We don't want to get in trouble. We want to keep selling games.
So let's kind of talk about some of your favorites over the years. And what are some pinball machines that, as you were growing up, were really influential for you and kind of stuck with you? Like, what are some really unique ones that you've enjoyed over the years? And then also, what are some new ones that are coming out that, if someone's looking to buy a pinball machine, like I've always been interested in purchasing one. What's one that might be coming out that would be cool for someone to check out?
Well, back to my favorites. So my dad still has a decent lineup. He's got about 8 or 10 games set up. Indiana Jones has always been one of my faves.
Yeah.
Attack from Mars. It's like a Mars theme. He's got Twilight Zone.
Oh, that was a cool one. So can I talk about a couple of those, because I remember those being at your house, and I remember the Twilight Zone one being unique because is that the one where in the center of the board there's like the whirlwind? and that the
No,
ball
that
would
one-
cross.
That one
I
has.
remember,
You
I
probably
remember almost like a black hole, and it would like spin, and the ball would like, it was almost like a magnet. It almost like pull the ball to a different direction. Maybe that wasn't.
Yeah,
I'm making that up.
you're probably thinking of Adam's Family, or like there's magnets on Twilight Zone that act as flippers. You gotta remember, these guys are always searching for really cool, different ideas.
Yeah,
He usually did good at it.
yeah,
So yeah, he's got some. We kind of have. We've built a nice lineup over all the decades. We've kind of kept the favorites and sold off all the other ones.
sure.
Through the years, we just kind of kept what we liked. Even some '80s ones like Valley Centaur and a Fathom, and I know this doesn't mean a lot to you guys, but maybe some viewers out there might know those games.
Oh
Sure,
yeah,
yeah.
definitely. I think my
Well, even
my like, coming to your house was just so cool. And I think my first time going to your home was when you had that new addition built. I think it had just gotten done when I first was able to come over to your house, and when we started to hang out, we were gaming. And I just remember seeing all the pinballs, and I was like, holy mackerel. I mean, this is just absolutely fantastic. I've always wanted a pinball machine. Like I've just, it's just like one of those game things where you've grown up and you're like, oh man, that would just be so cool to have. And you didn't have one, you had like so many of them, ridiculous. Then we go out into your garage and you have them stacked up. Your dad would have them stacked up in the corners, just, ready to be shipped out or whatever. But I'll tell you one moment I'll never forget. After I think this was, after we had already been gaming Halo and been doing that for a while. But I'll never forget walking up to you and saying what my favorite pinball game was. And we all come from the same town. We all grew up and graduated from Durand, Illinois. And there used to be this bar in Durand called Gallagher's. And we used to go there for lunch and whatnot, but they always had a specific pinball machine there. And it was, and I know you're going to know the name of it, but it was a castle. And when you hit it into the castle, the objective was to get like the castle to blow up. And I'll never forget when you finally, like you got it and it was in your house at one point.
Yeah.
It was like
Medieval Madness.
There it is. I knew it. I knew you would know. That was just, I'll never forget being like, holy shit, there it was. Because I have so many great memories of my grandfather taking Jay and I up to this bar in Durand, and that's all we would do is just throw quarters in this thing and just try and get the castle to explode. Who knew that there were rules?
Did you know
and
that
objectives?
that's still like the #1 rated game of all time?
You're kidding me.
Is it really? That's awesome.
Super highly rated, super sought after. I actually own a remake, so it was so popular that this new company came and remade them because there weren't enough out there for the demand.
Unbelievable.
So what is if a listener is thinking about getting a pinball machine, what kind of money do you think they'd be spending on something? On average, I know that there's some that kind of depending on what you're looking for, but what's someone on average kind of starting out that they would spend on their first one?
You're probably, if you're going to buy something new, which I almost kind of recommend it if you're new to pinball, you can get a Pro for about $5,500, $5,800. You can find a premium around $7 or $75, and you can find an LE or like a higher model. You're gonna spend probably around $10,000 for that.
Jeez.
Now, pinball is unlike a lot of things. Now, like a car, the values go up on them. So, and as they go out of production, they become harder to find. The values go up. So, like Evil Madness, I bought it in Kansas City, which is like an 8-hour drive from us, or 10-hour drive or something. I paid $8,200 for that game. It was brand new. It was $8,000. So I drove my ass all the way to Kansas City and paid $200 more than it was new. Brought it home. I've had it for 3 or 4 years now. It's worth $9,500 now, or $10,000. So when people are very like, I don't know if I want to spend that much money, like you also have to realize, like if you buy a new Star Wars Pro for $5,200 or $5,500, you play it for 2 years, and you're like, all right, I'm done with this one. I want a different one. Like you're going to get $5,000, or if you did nothing to it, you'll get $5,000.
So yeah,
you sell it yourself, you'll get all your money back.
It's a slight investment. Like it's almost like you have this niche of a thing where you can purchase one for that much, sell it for basically what you purchased it for, with it being used, and get something new. And so you're basically trading one for another, essentially. Is the trading market a big thing? Do owners trade pinball machines for other ones? Yeah,
they do all the time. They'll say, like, I'm looking for, I have this. I'm looking for this, and I can add or subtract cash depending on condition. But the pinball market since the pandemic has just gone up even further. I mean, I've watched it go up for 30 years. So, but it's definitely, everyone was stuck at homes last year. It's definitely, the pinball is definitely a big research again for it.
Yeah.
So, what's a last kind of thing here? What's a new game that's coming out that might be something that is kind of like highly anticipated in the pinball world, I guess you could say?
Everything's pretty tight-lipped now. They don't really leak much anymore. But they have, I love the Jurassic Park. That's a pretty new game. I just bought a Turtles Premium, which is, you got a picture of that. And I mean, they just did, let's see, what else is coming? They had the Guns N' Roses, Jack.
You had mentioned a Stranger Things one, I think the last time we hung out when I was back home, that Stranger Things came out to like a limited edition one or something like that, which I thought was kind of cool. I'm a big Kiss fan, and Kiss pinball.
Years back.
Sure. So those are some cool things. So where can somebody go to find, maybe a place where they can look at some pinball machines that they can maybe purchase?
So to purchase, I would by going and playing pinball, first of all. So go to like app.com, which is a great resource to play pinball. It's nationwide. You can type it in, put in your zip code, and it'll say, hey, here's the 7 bars. Here's the games they have. And you can go and play them. And before you buy any game, I highly suggest you go and play 15, 20, as many as you can. Everyone likes something different, just like everyone likes different, games on the console.
I kind of relate it to almost like buying a guitar. You want to, test a few of them out, see which ones feel good and which one you like, and kind of go from there.
And it sounds like it's almost like an investment, right? I mean, it's like you're buying something that potentially could have value as well.
Right.
Well, it will have value. The question is, will it have a lot more? Will it have the same, or will it lose just a little? It's very safe. You're not going to lose your ass at pinball. That's that much.
I got one question that I want to ask you, just because you've been running these things. So one of the reasons we wanted to do this, right, is because we wanted to do the podcast, video series, whatever you want to call it, is being told through the millennial, right? And so to me, when I look back, we were talking about this in our first episode of, just kind of the progression and the evolution of gaming. And just for me, like arcade is kind of like where it started for me and how I really enjoyed and kind of probably got into console games. What is, now that you're running games and you have machines basically all over where you live and you actually have a game route, if you will, what's the demographic like right now? Because like in my brain, I'm kind of thinking that, the Gen Xers, or I don't even know what generation, 2 generations that are, I don't even know what my son's generation is right now. Like, I just do they even know what to do when they see a pinball machine? You know what I mean? Like, what are your demographics on your machines that you got out there?
It's, well, right now, because obviously there's a lot of boomers that are retiring. They got extra coin for something to do. They're buying games and they're playing games. You got your Gen Xers, which are getting out and doing stuff. The millennials are a huge bridge in the market, which actually 5-8 years ago, like pinball wasn't doing so hot in the early 2000s. Like it was not doing well at all. Like it was doing almost, I don't want to say it's almost gone, but it was hurting. And when they bridged that millennial gap, it was like Christmas for them. So when you started seeing barcades 8 years ago, like, oh, come play for free, drink beer. Yeah. That was when they got the millennial. And when they got the millennial, they were like, we're good. Like, we're good. That's another 40 years.
Those beercades, those are getting popular. Especially, I remember, in Chicago, there's a bunch of like small breweries that even have them in their own. Now, and in Rockford as well, I know that we've gone to a few where your machines are located. So yeah, that's really awesome. Well, Nick, hey, we thank you for all the information, man. We really appreciate it. I want to make sure that you give an opportunity. Nick, you also own your own business, and you have a unique kind of setup that you have, and I think that the viewers would like to hear that as well. Can you tell us a little bit about your store?
Yeah, so we have Toad Hall Books and Records. Actually, Ryan's wearing my shirt. One of the shirts. It's a vintage record book and comic shop. It's a 100-year-old building. It's 2 stories, basement, main level, upstairs, all full of old cool stuff.
It's awesome.
We sell online, so I sell on eBay. We have our own website. We're actually expanding this year, and we're going to hopefully be selling beer and have pinball machines. So we're going to branch into that whole part of it too, and maybe sell games. We've always sold games, so.
We'll be sure, and in the description of the video, we'll be posting links to your store's website and things like that. So I highly suggest all listeners to at least check it out. His inventory is unreal. He can, and the family that runs that store is like a second family to me. They will take care of you if something's not right. But they have everything that you will need. There's vintage vinyl. There's new vinyl. Books, DVDs. I put in a DVD purchase at least once a month, probably over the last few months, and then I get a good shipment of stuff. So highly suggest just checking it out. Nick, we really appreciate you being on, man. And again, you're a good friend, and we've had some good times, and I'm glad we can continue on doing stuff like this. And if there's ever anything you need from us, obviously you can reach out to us, and we'll be sure to put that information in the description. And please, viewers, check out his store. And thanks for having it. Thanks for being on, man.
Absolutely. Anytime, guys. Anytime you want to talk pinball or you want to go over a game, whatever you need, I'm more than happy to do any shows you need.
All right, brother.
Last thing, Nick. Nick. What's your gamer tag? And what's a game that you're playing right now?
Gamer tag was Theta. And Dodge can attest to this. We were in a mathematics class. Took calculus together a couple times because we didn't make it the first time. And, Theta was obviously I'm a calculus term, and I just stole from that. What I'm gaming now, you guys got to get on the LVR set.
Oh wow! Nick's always got the goodies. He's always got the goodies.
He's a man of retro taste and pulls out the high-tech McGee.
Yeah, you got the VR pinball machine in there, don't you? You're probably playing VR pinball.
I have no PS5. I have no PS4. No Xbox. I'm Switch and VR and pinball all the way.
I love it.
Awesome. So, that's awesome, man. Well, hey, Nick, thanks a lot again. We really appreciate it. We'll keep in touch, and maybe we can do a follow-up episode in a couple weeks and see where we can go from there. Nick had some really awesome things to talk about. Even just talking with him about some of those pinball machines brought back a lot of awesome memories of gaming with him. And he's such a good man. And, I've known him for so long. We all have known him for so long. And I still didn't know the knowledge that he had with all those pinball kind of facts and stories behind how they've been created. So even as a friend and someone that we've talked with for a very long time, that was an awesome and enjoyable time. And I'm glad we're able to have him on. Earlier today, I was actually talking to Dodge about it, and him and I talked. Dodge, we were probably talking for like 2 hours almost about just gaming and then some things with Nick's interview. And you had some good points. What were a couple? First off, what are some memories that you have of the pinball machines, and then what are some things that you thought were interesting that Nick had to say?
Well, some of my memories are even just from like Halo Night when we started doing that. My introduction to Nick was like all the pinball machines and all that stuff. So it was very cool and a new experience. I've never seen that. You go to clubs or whatever as a kid or random places and you see these things, and then to get thrown into that world like that, it was really cool.
It was like everyone's dream. Right? Like when you were growing up, it was like, that's what you wanted in your house was like a bunch of pinball machines.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess it's, that idea of that, it's just such a physical thing and it's this fun thing. And, obviously the fun of it is the art on it and the lights and all that stuff. And
it's almost like nostalgia. It's nostalgia using nostalgia. It's a nostalgic game using a nostalgic theme, like Indiana Jones, like he talked about. That was one of his ones that he kept on and held on to over the years. But but what are a few things that he brought up that you found interesting? Because there was a lot of cool history and stuff like that he brought to the table and that I had no idea about.
Right. Yeah, as far as the history goes, I mean, I had no clue about, a lot of the gambling stuff, how they were kind of like seen as a gambling machine or, kind of used as those at first or, but I mean, so in terms of like Nick, when he was talking about the rules, I know that was kind of one of the main bits in it, but yeah, like, and you brought up how awesome it is to watch him play, and it really is. He's like, really, really super good at playing pinball. Like
it's mesmerizing.
Figures it out. Yeah. And that's like, I guess that's what I found really interesting too, is how like, I guess he's just so, in tune with that, getting ready to like find out the rules and like, that really immersive experience of like figuring all that out with each individual pinball. Like, it's just crazy to think that they all have their own separate, kind of deal. So
I was thinking about it earlier today. I thought I was going to text him about it after the show here, but I was going to tell him he should do a Twitch stream of him playing pinball.
That'd be awesome.
There's probably not a single Twitch stream on pinball, and I think that would be cool. That would just be a unique Twitch stream. But yeah, I know. Right. What were a couple things that stood out to you?
Oh, the whole thing. I think the biggest thing for me, as he was talking through, is like that there's actually like there's set objectives with each game. And like, I think I had said during the interview, like, how do you know when you walk up to the game and how do you approach this? Like when you get up to it, do you already are you looking around for like certain flippers and toggles and whatnot? And he gave a pretty nonchalant answer, which was basically like, well, no, Rye, you just go look on the side of the damn machine and it's got it's got the instructions right there.
It is more than that. Oh,
no, it is. Yeah, it totally is.
Because I've seen him go to a place that has pinball machines and he scopes them. He does the little walk by scope and he sees which one. And I'm like, which one are you going to play? He's like, I think I'm going to try that one over there. So I don't know. There's more of a method to his madness than he says there is. That's for sure.
I just pictured Nick, like that. At a bar, like how you would go to pick up chicks, like, I think I'm gonna go talk to that girl. I'm gonna go try that out. No, but I thought the whole thing was cool. I thought it was really cool to know that the pinballs is a Midwestern thing. I mean, primarily like all of them are made in Chicago, which is really, really cool. So, but I don't know.
That is interesting because isn't the dartboard guy from Illinois or Wisconsin as well, I thought, or one of the dartboard manufacturers?
Probably. I would imagine so. Jay, what about you, man? What was something that you thoroughly enjoyed about Nick's content?
2 words: wizard mode. Simple as that. Never knew that existed. If I would have known that, I would have been pushing to get wizard mode.
You would have been jiggling cords to try to find the wizard mode.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was really interesting that there's so many layers upon layers where he was talking about how you can like stack. I don't want to say levels, but they're almost like levels, like get all the loops or get all the ramps and then you stack them until you get a multi-ball because then you get double points. So I didn't know any of that existed. I thought it was all basically the same. So along the lines with Rye, I did not know about those rules and how there's kind of like a level and a boss. Like you beat the boss, you get wizard mode.
Yeah.
That was totally interesting. As well as the Chicago aspect. I did not know that either. Also very cool being, born in the suburbs of Chicago. And Nick is actually my second friend that owned a pinball machine. My first one, I think you all know him. His name is Brad. Do you know what the answer is?
Oh man!
No, you don't.
No.
Justin Tanute had a pinball.
Oh, good.
Tanute. What was his gamer tag? We were trying to think of it the other day. Schnooks. There it is. Oh,
that's who Schnooks was.
Yes.
Yeah,
I remember seeing that on some Xbox, and we were like, Schnooks. And some of us did not know.
So funny story, really quick side note. Keeping with the whole, with Nick Naruse in his house, Jay brought to new
Yeah.
to
Mhm.
a Halo night one night. And that's
Yeah.
why you probably saw that on one of the Xbox.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know? And we
Totally.
were all hyped up on Mountain Dew. Oh,
Oh yeah, we were. Yeah.
Oh, and the two large Saminos on Wednesdays too came flying in. We'd get that every time.
You guys
Every
would have been digging probably.
I would have been leaving my dip cups all over the place, probably just
Probably
pissing
still
him
there.
off.
that
Yeah.
was like before energy drinks really took off. You know, everybody was on Dew still.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Code Red.
Code
Code
Red
Red.
with the gaming.
Go Red.
Yep, absolutely.
But,
But yeah.
very
We really appreciated Nick again. I know he's not on this part of the episode, but want to thank him for taking the time out to talk to us. Guys, we're excited about some of the episodes that we have planned for you here in the near future. Please continue to tune in, tell your friends, share it on your social media, whatever you need to do. We're going to be kind of filling up all kinds of different. We're going to cover a lot of different content. We're going to cover old school gaming, some of the stuff that's happening right now. And we're excited for the things that we have lined up for you. And I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode. And please subscribe, do those things, hit the like button, all those tricks and whistles and things like that.
And thanks for the bready.
And thank you for the breadies.
All
Thanks for
right.
the-
Thank you.